this question deals with people's sense of general pessimism around their ability to improve their financial situation in life. So the idea of upward mobility across those segments. And to remind you, we find that Canadians fall into four segments across the spectrum of poverty in this country. There are the struggling, pretty self-explanatory. There are those who are on the edge, maybe one job loss or a missed paycheck or a financial calamity away from finding themselves in that struggling category. You have the more recently comfortable, people who aren't worried about their financial situation today, but remember a time in their lives not so long ago where they were having to watch their ability to spend and their ability to save very carefully. And the always comfortable. And these are the folks for whom financial stress and strain has not been a part of their lived experience, either in childhood or currently today in adulthood. So when we think about how people feel, not just about their own personal financial situations, but also about the generation that's coming behind them, the lives of their children and the generations to come, we find two interesting things. First of all, people are optimistic about their own personal financial circumstances, with the exception of the struggling. People are of the view that, hey, we can sort of climb. So the on the edge are more inclined to think that they will have a better financial situation going into the future, as opposed to the struggling who are not necessarily feeling as strongly that way. However, the one thing that really sort of brings everyone together, regardless of what segment they find themselves in, is a concern or a worry about the fate of their children's futures and will they be living as comfortably as people are today. And again, across that spectrum, we find that people are more pessimistic about the prospects for their kids. Now, some of this is just rooted in the anxiety of not being able to see the future, not being able to see around the corner. But when we think about what is happening in urban Canadian centers, where the cost of living is really only on a one-way trajectory, where access to housing and affordable housing or comfortable housing is something that is becoming more unattainable for more Canadians. And then we think about how people have paid in past generations and how they will pay in coming generations for things that we might have taken for granted. So one telling thing we find in this country is 1 in 5 Canadians say that they cannot really afford dental care. Now, there was a time where dental care perhaps wasn't as expensive. It was accessible to more Canadians. There was a greater sense of the safety net. The safety net had fewer gaps in it. And as we've seen certain costs downloaded onto consumers and onto people who are taxpayers, where once government took care of these costs, we start to see more people, I think, maybe worrying about what the next 20 or 30 years is going to look like.